locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
Hello, and welcome to Paraversal Universe, where all paranormal perspectives apply. Join paranormal historian and ufologist Kevin Malek and psychic medium and demonologist Jennifer Malek as they navigate us through the different categories of the unknown and the unexplained, including ghosts and haunted places, cryptozoology, aliens and UFOs, theology, metaphysics, and conspiracy theories, with the top analysts and experts of these disciplines. If it's amazing, if it's unusual or mysterious, if it's bizarre or creepy and fantastic, if it's unbelievable, paranormal, or supernatural, then it's Paraversal Universe Radio. Now here are your hosts, Kevin and Jennifer, with Paraversal Universe Radio.
Hello everyone, welcome to Paraversal Universe on the Inception Radio Network. Brought to you by the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society Limited and the Northwoods Paranormal Resource Center here in Rhinelander, Wisconsin. We're your hosts, Kevin and Jennifer Malek.
Hello everyone.
And hello to everyone in the IRN chat room. We look forward to your questions and comments as always. IRNchat.com is the link for the chat room, so come join us there. All right. Tonight's category is monsters and cryptids, as well as urban legends and folklore. Tonight's topic is something we've wanted to cover for quite a while now, but for one reason or another, we just never got around to booking it until now. That would be the Jersey Devil and the mysterious Pine Barrons, all 1 million acres. Our guest tonight is Paralogian, Fortean researcher, and author Christoph Chaos, author of The Search for the Jersey Devil. You'll be joining us here in a few minutes after we do our shout-outs for this week's episode. Shout-outs go to those who have shared our Paraversal Universe banners or NWPS articles or write-ups. Anyone who shares our banners on social media deserves a thank you and our appreciation. Who we haven't listened.
So, we have first Walter Brooks.
Yes, author of the critically acclaimed Thought of Christos.
Cindy Lou.
Bizarro World and the News Collective.
Jason Bland.
Paranormal Soup and Midwest Paranormal.
Jamie Chaplin Damlos.
JJ Paranormal and Paranormal Soup as well.
Johnny Giles.
Thank you, Johnny. A fan.
Paranormal 66.
Paul, thank you again.
Walter Winchok.
Thank you, Walter.
Annie Newton.
USOKS.
Radio Unplugged.
Yes.
Debbie Grasberger Schmoll.
Grins Paranormal.
Oshkosh Paranormal.
Paranormal Teams Worldwide.
Donald Young.
Desi Blackstone.
Michelle McManus.
And everybody in chat tonight, including, let's see.
MJ.
Big Bird.
Christy.
Heidi.
Max.
Rocket.
Sky.
And anyone else that comes or goes. Well then, are you ready? Shall we bring him on?
Yes.
Christoph, are you with us this evening?
Yes, I am.
Thank you so much for joining us and coming on the show.
Thank you.
The Jersey Devil is a prominent cryptid. You wrote a book on the subject. I encourage everyone to check it out. It's called search for the Jersey Devil. But for those who don't know who you are, could you tell us a little about yourself to start off?
Oh, yes. Probably about in 2010, we started out writing about various abandoned places. And then around 2003, we started doing a documentary concerning the Jersey Devil. And we released that in 2015 on DVD. And many short documentaries on the internet itself on YouTube.
Yeah, we watch your channel and enjoy it.
Yeah, great channel, by the way.
Can you say
Thank
the
you.
name of that for everyone, so everyone knows?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Can you say the name of the channel, the YouTube channel?
Yeah, the channel, it's under Access Video. That's where we put out our paranormal videos.
What was it about the legend that prompted you to study and eventually write about the Jersey Devil in particular?
Well, pretty much I lived in New Jersey all my life, and it was just a legend that was constantly there that you always heard about, and it just I had a great interest in it, so we decided to do a documentary on the subject of the Jersey Devil.
And I know most people know what the Jersey Devil is, but there may be some people that they've heard of it, but they're not exactly sure what we're talking about. And so would you be so kind as to, I guess, just walk us through, how would you describe the creature based on what you know?
Yeah, there actually are probably close to 20 different versions, depending on who you're listening to. But the most common one is back in 1735, Mother Leeds, who was Deborah Leeds, gave birth to her 13th child, and she was tired of having children, having 12 before that, and she cursed it as being the devil. And then once the child was born, it became the Jersey Devil, and legend has it that it flew through the chimney and went out into the pine barrens, and started all the legends that came afterwards.
I've always wondered why the Leeds family was specifically the family to, end up with that legend in their family, opposed to any other family. It seems to me everybody accepts that as folklore, opposed to fact. Even in modern day, how the story is described isn't really feasible necessarily. Is there any have you talked to any of the Leeds? Is there any reason why their family was the one that ended up with that? Because that's kind of like a stigma in a sense.
Yeah, it definitely is a stigma. They were a very prominent family during that time period, and they broke off from the church, which was predominantly Quakers. They became Episcopalian, and that, so to say, made the other people a little bit mad. So they possibly started some rumors. If you actually read Brian Regal of King University, he goes into great detail concerning the political slander of the Leeds family.
There are, like you said, several theories as to what the Jersey Devil. We should probably explore some of them. What are the as far as which one are you most comfortable with? I guess that's a good place to start.
Well, I do believe it could be political slander, where they're trying to slander the family itself, which is the most, probably the most logical reason. The second one is it's possible that the family did have a deformed child, which, possibly had a birth defect. And, they thought maybe that the family was involved in witchcraft. So they slandered the family in that manner. And then there's other logical theories that it could have possibly been a sandhill crane, a hammerhead bat, possibly a pterodactyl. These are very widespread claims that people think that possibly could be the Jersey Devil.
Right. I mean, I think last time we watched a documentary, they had mentioned owl, they mentioned everything from kangaroos to owls to bats from Africa to all these different things. My trouble with the owl is so many reports talk about a neck and a long neck, and owls just don't have necks.
Exactly.
If there's one animal that doesn't have a neck, it's an owl. I guess. And then of course, what about the paracryptozoological angle? Because there are, one of the questions we were going to touch on is has to do with has anybody ever reported seeing more than one of them at the same time?
To my knowledge, no. Every documented sighting of the Jersey Devil, to my knowledge, it's always been one solitary being, never more than one at one time.
That's really interesting because they say there are 200 reports over the last 20 years, and that this legend goes back to, what was it, 1735?
Yes.
Yes, 1735.
So,
correct.
That's when you have that many sightings, and some of the people, of course, were in groups and stuff, so this isn't hallucinations or a bunch of misidentifications. It's possible some of them were, but with that many sightings, there's obviously something going on. But without a breeding population, it becomes a really interesting question as to. You also investigate the paranormal. Is that correct? I mean, that's correct, right?
That is correct. Yes.
So, where do you stand on that? Do you think that the Jersey Devil could possibly be an interdimensional being or something demonic or something along those lines, opposed to something zoological?
I don't believe it would be anything along the lines of that. I mean, I did hear people touch on that, but what they're basing it on is pretty weak. I think it would be more along the lines of, like other people stated, either political slander or possibly a deformed child, which might be based on facts. Or possibly at 2 a.m., someone was drunk on moonshine in the middle of the Pine Barrens and saw a deer, and they claimed it was a Jersey Devil, something like that,
And here is a really good question from someone and one of our guests that are always in chat with us. Here's a good question talking about that.
Yeah.
Is the Jersey Devil in any way connected to Mothman, Bigfoot, the Devil, Sasquatch, or any of the other Jurassic or zoological creatures out there? And the reason why I say this is because you guys briefly touched on the paracryptozoological aspect of it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that is possible, because anybody that believes in UFOs, anytime they see something that they can't explain, they believe it's an alien or UFO. If someone is religious, anything they see that they can't explain, they believe it has to do something that is religious. If someone believes in Bigfoot, when they go into the woods and they see something they can't explain, they believe it's Bigfoot. Or the Jersey Devil, the Mothman, or whoever they may, believe in. So it is possible that they are connected, that you're seeing it, whatever you may believe when you walk into the woods or, wherever you're seeing these creatures at.
Or do you work solo?
Right now, no. I am currently working solo, but in the past we have worked with other people. We compared notes and, put all our information together to come up with the information that we do currently have. But currently I am solo right now.
Different witnesses you've talked to. What's the most incredible report?
The most incredible report, they all kind of run parallel. Pretty much they're in the woods camping or, wandering through the Pine Barrens. And it's always at nighttime, during a thunderstorm, and they hear something, they see something out of the corner of their eye, but they never catch a full glimpse of whatever the creature is.
going on?
Yeah, I would say it's probably different colors. Because any animal that you encounter in the woods, if you're shining a flashlight or if it's like bouncing off a campsite, like fire of a campsite,
Right.
you're going to see some kind of reflective eyes. I didn't notice anything specific as far as like eyes other than maybe like glowing red. That's something that people repeatedly report, glowing red.
Right, because there is a difference between reflective and glowing. Or one would be
true, very
reflecting
true.
light, and one is creating its own light.
And that pretty much comes down to the interpretation of the person that might be seeing it. They might not be reporting it correctly or viewing it, correctly either.
Right, so I have a question for you from the chat room from Michelle McManus. What made you decide to investigate the Jersey Devil?
Well, just being from New Jersey, we love horror. We make films, so we wanted to make a documentary, and we were trying to figure out the subject of the documentary. The Jersey Devil is a logical choice for us simply because that's the legend that's associated with our state. So we just chose it based on proximity. I'm sorry, what was that?
As far as like people going out and hunting the Jersey Devil, are you pro-kill or no kill?
Oh, well, definitely no kill. I mean, man, no matter what they do, they want to just kill anything they're afraid of, and I'm against that. I do believe that we should research it and study it and figure out, what exactly the Jersey Devil is if we ever encountered it. But I'm fearful that man themselves would attempt to kill whatever they found instead, which I'm against, though. No kill, definitely no kill.
Physical evidence. Is there? I know that like if you watch documentaries, they show footprints or like hoof prints or alleged hoof prints. Is that? Do you find that out there? Is there anybody that claims to have any kind of physical proof other than a photograph of this animal?
Well, I mean, over the years, there's been many people that claim to have the body or the skull or footprints, which, for the most part, they turn out to be outright frauds or just misidentification. But there have been footprints that have been found that no one's really sure what they are because they're not properly documented. Usually, the footprints are found in the snow, which that's very hard to determine what animal might have left the footprint because the snow expands, it melts. And then the skulls themselves of the Jersey Devil, they're usually misidentified as another animal, and not even a skull, just a different, a skeleton of a different animal that's not even a skull related.
So we have another question for you from the chat room. What is your interest in the Jersey Devil, and what does it matter to you?
Well, my interest is, the Jersey Devil, the history has been around since at least 1735. So I did find an interest in trying to figure out if it's, legend, if it's truth, if it's just tall tales, cautionary tales. So the reason it matters to me is I'm just trying to figure out, like, what people are seeing in the Pine Barrens.
How about Native American legends? Did you find it?
I'm not sure the exact year of when they date to. The year that I usually come up against is still 1735. But I am aware that Native Americans did report some sort of animal within the Pine Barrens that resembles the Jersey Devil. But I'm not sure the exact years if it goes beyond 1735.
That's really interesting. And I agree, Christoph. For me, one of the real interesting things about the Jersey Devil is that it does have a longevity to it for urban legend, or we're not talking that it's not something we're talking about that's been cited recently or more recently. This goes back as far as certainly America,
correct.
And if there are, whether it be cave paintings or even legends, verbal legends about, the Jersey Devil, along with the last, 300 years of that. That to me suggests that there's something going on.
Oh, there's definitely something going on. And I say this because I was born and raised in Hudson County, New Jersey. And even as a little kid, everybody that I knew heard of the Leeds legend with the Jersey Devil and not to go anywhere near the Pine Barrens at night because the Jersey Devil would get you.
Right.
Yeah.
It's something that you were told. It was passed down and around to you when you were growing up. So for me, I actually spent several summers going out there with like carloads of people and trying to look for it. Did I ever find it? No. But it intrigued me enough to go out there because I knew from hearing about it myself growing up that there had to be something more to it.
And the other thing that impressed... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's correct. It could be a cautionary tale that parents tell their kids, be home at a certain time, go to bed, behave, or the Jersey Devil's going to get you. I heard that from many people of the older generation that their parents, told them also, and they feel that it was probably just a cautionary tale.
Another thing that impresses me is I noticed in the reports there was everything from witnesses, everything from the King of Spain all the way to priests, rabbis, cops, judges, doctors, people that normally wouldn't say that they've seen something like that have reported this. And I find that holds weight too, because it doesn't stand to reason that, what would any prominent person have to gain from something like that? Otherwise.
Yeah, that is correct. Very prominent people, all the way up to Napoleon's brother. He also stated that he fired a cannonball at, the Jersey Devil, and judges, policemen, as you said, they also reported that they saw the Jersey Devil also. That is very correct.
Well, so we have a question for you from the chat room. What is the earliest actual document you have seen mentioning the Jersey Devil versus some modern mentioning a 1735 document?
The earliest, I would have to say, besides 1735, when supposedly the Jersey Devil, the 13th child, was born, closer to 1800s, people did report seeing the Jersey Devil in their backyard or on the rooftop or leaving footprints. But that's also hearsay. There's no solid photographs or any solid documentation that the Jersey Devil was existing during those times.
So, another thing we should bring up is Phenomenal Week.
Phenomenal Week.
Can you tell us a little bit about that, or the audience?
Yeah, pretty much during I believe the second or third week of January of 1909 was one of the biggest flaps of sightings of the Jersey Devil, where he was seen multiple times a day. And this is all over New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, all the way down to Texas and California also. But that's the most popular time for flaps for the Jersey Devil to be sighted.
Did anyone ever establish any kind of connection as to maybe why? Was there anything else going on at the time that was significant in, I don't know, geology or astronomy or just anything that has anyone ever come up with the reason why there were so many sightings for that 1 week?
There's a couple things that people said, that maybe people were just bored. It was mass hysteria. Obviously, this is before television, before radio. People were just bored. They were looking for something to talk about, so it is possible that it was attributed to mass hysteria. But as far as anything in geology or astrology or anything like that, I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything either.
No, but I mean, Phenomenal Week was just impressive to me. I mean, you had one sighting of where a trolley car during the day was spotted. This thing, like a whole trolley car full of passengers. You know, you had people that found random footprints on their roofs in the snow. I mean, you name it, they had encounters that whole entire week, and it just amazes me that there was that much of a cluster of sightings in that 8-day span and so many different places.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting. And as Kevin said earlier, you know, policemen, firemen, people like that, you know, supposedly notable people also claim to have seen the Jersey Devil. And I live in Gloucester City, New Jersey, and there was a sighting literally 2 blocks from my home where there was supposedly a Jersey Devil sighting also.
What do you think about the, have you seen the thermal camera, the thermal image that Bill Burns and Ryan Buell got when they went out there on that TV?
Paranormal State.
I don't know if that was Ryan Buell's Paranormal State or if that was Bill Burns' UFO Hunters. But they teamed up and they went out in the Pine Barrens. And they claimed to have gotten some possible thermal footage of the Jersey Devil. I was wondering if you had seen that or not.
Yeah, I think I know what thermal image you're talking about. I believe what was determined, it was actually 2 deer standing very close together. I do have an image which I can provide later that outlines, if it was 2 deers, outlining the 2 deers together, showing how that possibly could have inspired right there.
Right. It did, it did have the long neck and that kind of thing. I from what I remember, anyways. And, like you said, like a deer or, something like that. Of course, the most famous picture of the Jersey Devil, at least the one that sticks out in my mind, is the one where it's got like almost like the camel's face and the long neck and the big bat wings and the hooves.
Yeah.
Almost, it actually looks like something out of an old demonology book, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably the most traditionally accepted image of the Jersey Devil, but if you really think about it, when they're saying the Jersey Devil's flying around, an animal that kind of looks like a deer, a horse with hooves and all, probably would weigh a little too much to actually be able to fly. And it supposedly has bat wings, a horse's face, and like a goat's hooves. So I'm just trying to think of an animal that would be able to fly with that much weight attached to it.
Yeah, it would need supernatural help.
Okay,
Exactly.
everybody. With that, it's time for our first commercial break. You are listening to Paraversal Universe on the Inception Radio Network.
Welcome back to Paraversal Universe on the Inception Radio Network. We're your hosts, Kevin and Jennifer Malek, and we're chatting with Paralogian and author Christoph Chaos. But before we bring him back on, we'd like to take a minute and thank everybody that makes Paraversal Universe possible, including graphic art designer Lawrence D. Miza, announcer William Pritchard, music by Matt Stenz, producer Mike M.J. Lucas, and of course to God, for granting us this wonderful show and opportunity here to be with you all. This segment is brought to you by Lucas Wellness and the UFO Wisconsin Research Team. We also have 3 Paraversal Universe like pages, so check those out if you can. Also check out Jennifer Malek, Psychic Demonologist, Jennifer's like page, and of course the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society Limited like page. We also have 2 group pages worth noting: Lake Monstrosities, which is the largest group on.
Okay.
Code. So check that out next week as well. Okay, back to our guests.
Yes.
Christoph, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, just let me. So for the second half, we wanted to get into the Pine Barrens.
Yes.
We may. I'm sure the Jersey Devil may come up in this as well, but there is so much area. I mean, they said I forget what it was, like over 1 million acres, 22,000 square miles.
It's a little over 1 million acres, correct.
That's crazy.
All right. They got cranberry bogs. They got blueberry bogs. They have so much. It's very, very vast.
That's what the Pineys call home.
That is true. They do.
And as a paranormal historian, I know there are other mysteries within the Pine Barrens. Mysterious ponds, Bigfoot reports, strange forest lights, etc. Can you elaborate on any of that?
Probably one of the weirdest ones besides the Jersey Devil would be it's a location called Ang's Hat, which was a city that I believe it was the 17 to 1800s that it was inhabited. And legend has it that scientists were doing some kind of weird experiments back then with time travel and everything like that. The second one, I'm not really familiar with it, but there have been several Bigfoot reports, but I don't really study Bigfoot, so I'm not really sure exactly what happened with that. Okay. Obviously, the Jersey Devil, and then there's a lot of the old glass factories and various foundries that were abandoned, which they attached many legends to.
I bet. And we were just talking off camera during the commercial break about the blue hole. In the Pine Barrens, which is, for those who don't know, it's this creepy little pond. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I've been there several times. Many years ago, I believe also during the 1800s, there was a mill that was there. And then, as different time eras come in and come out of play, the mill was torn down, and then many legends were built around it. And as with any kind of legendary place, of course, in New Jersey, the Jersey Devil decides to make that his home. Legend has it that if you swim in these waters and you go out to the middle, the Jersey Devil will pull you down. Legend has it there's also no bottom. And also, any time of year, whether it's December or August, in the heat of August, it'll also be very icy, which is true. It is very cold to the touch. But basically, everybody says that the Jersey Devil will get you if you swim in it.
Right, and go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I never swam in it, but I've been there several times, and I've never seen the Jersey Devil there yet, so...
No, they say people drowned in there, right? They said people drowned in there, or possibly?
They say they have, but usually what happens is teenagers go back there drinking and partying and, doing things they shouldn't. And when they're a little intoxicated, they tend to swim, and the paramedics have to come out and pull them out. Yeah, usually.
Okay, I have 2 questions for you from the chat room. The first one comes from Big Bird. Could someone have found the remains of the Jersey Devil and cloned it for today's sightings?
I mean, it's possible. I haven't came in contact with any sort of scientists or geneticists that claim to have found the remains. But I did find a guy on the side of the road selling fruit that claimed to have the Jersey Devil's skull. But after, taking photos of it and sending it to the proper people, they stated that it was the frame of a bird and not the skull of the Jersey Devil.
Okay. And the second question comes from Sky33. Has there been many reports of the Jersey Devil communicating? If so, how? Verbal or telepathy?
As far as like communication that us humans understand, not that I'm aware of, but over the years there have been reports that the Jersey Devil has came onto farms and taken liberties with chickens and livestock, but never, officially tried to communicate with a human in the sense that we understand it. Okay.
So then next question comes from Sudan. What does the guest make of the fact that the family coat of arms, the Leeds family, has a strange dragon on it, which sort of looks like the Jersey Devil?
Well, I mean, a lot of coat of arms and family arms like that, derivative of England, do have swords, shields, and dragons associated with it. So, I mean, this might be, something ironic that it just happens to have something that looks like the Jersey Devil. But, I mean, I'm not aware of anything connecting the coat of arms to the Jersey Devil directly.
Okay. Next question comes from Max. If these creatures are skinwalker types or can move between dimensions, would this mean that these critters are far more advanced than the average humanoid?
Well, if the Jersey Devil can move through dimensions, I would say they probably are more advanced. But myself, I never investigated it from that angle, so I'm not really sure. But I would say they're more advanced if they can do that.
Have you gone out, or I would imagine, I should just ask, of all the investigations you've done, what's your freakiest experience?
Honestly, as far as concerning the Jersey Devil, there really hasn't been anything that occurred. I mean, we went out into the woods, sat around, taking photos, taking videos, just waiting for something to happen. Anybody that has been on a so-called haunted house or paranormal investigation, most of the time you're just sitting there waiting for something to happen, and 9 times out of 10, nothing does happen. So every time that we went out to investigate and look for the Jersey Devil, we personally never came across any kind of evidence that indicated the Jersey Devil was out there.
How many Jerseys? They said there were 200 reports in the last 20 years. How many sightings, about average per year, would you say there are?
Wow, yeah, that's actually hard to say. I think they probably dimmed down over the last couple of years. Usually the Jersey Devil sightings come up around Halloween. How convenient, right? Usually a lot of news outlets contact me around Halloween and want to do a story concerning the Jersey Devil. And obviously, probably most of the sightings are probably frauds. I really don't know how many sightings per year there are, but I'm pretty sure they're dimming down over the last couple of years.
There's something else. Let's see if I can find it here, because I jotted it down earlier. Do you have a...
Yeah, I have a question from the chat room. This comes from Big Bird. How many Jersey Devils do you believe there are throughout the areas described, or do you believe that there is only one?
Yeah, it's tough to say also, because you figure most animals, they don't live past 100. You take a human, they live usually 80, 90 at best. Some turtles can live, I heard, up to like maybe 150, 160, somewhere in that area. But that's a reptile for a turtle. Now, if this is a deer, like, something that's similar to a mammal, like a deer, a horse, they probably live between 20 and 30 years. So if we're talking about a speculative about the Jersey Devil, which, as far as I can say, dates back to 1735, I would assume that if it does exist, there probably are more than one of them. One of the people that we spoke to, Frank Chili, states that he believes it's some sort of pterodactyl, that they live in underground caverns under New Jersey. Now, this is his theory, not mine. But he speculates that there's several of them that live under there and have been living under there, for thousands and millions of years since the dinosaurs.
The other thing that was mentioned was earlier, one of our people in chat had mentioned, and I had jotted down a question earlier, and it had to do with the Plum Island and the whole Montauk thing. I guess my question was, when you saw that on Monster Quest, what were your thoughts about that?
It is possible that human cloning, experimentation with genes, mixing different animals, hybrids. I mean, it's possible that someone did some kind of experiment and the Jersey Devil was born, as with Montauk Island. It's very well plausible. But I would feel that the Jersey Devil in modern times would be cited a little bit more than he actually is now if there was a biological being running around the Pine Barrens. You had mentioned that there were a few abandoned locations of interest. Yeah.
Places that you enjoy. Can you tell us about some of them? Because we love abandoned locations. I don't know what it is about it. The history, the nostalgia, the interest, the fact that it's abandoned. Why would someone abandon? Just stuff like that. But legend tripping is something I know you do too.
Yes. There's several so-called mental health facilities, which were Skillman, Essex County. They were basically mental asylums that were just abandoned, and technically they really just released the population into the public. And the buildings themselves were either, abandoned and demolished many years later. Some of those we did explore. They're pretty much abandoned buildings, and people do attach ghost stories to them, or other atrocities that may or may not happen to them also.
I have a quick question, and this is a really good question, actually. And this comes from Sudan again. Has JD sightings gone up or down since we started having good cameras on smartphones?
That's a good question. With any cryptid, with any ghost, with any unexplained animal, beast, or whatever you may want to call it, sightings I do feel that sightings in general have gone up, but most of them have been proven to be false or faked with different apps that you can put on your smartphones. And I do find it interesting that the average smartphone can take a very clear photo at averaging 16 megs, but the photo that we get is very blurry, out of focus, and stuff like that. I do feel that they are going up, but the quality is still down, where we're not seeing anything clear.
You're talking about you had mentioned before about the wings and how it flies and how it would, and it reminds me of that thing that Huffington Post came out with. They had this little piece, and it was kind of presented as like a newscast almost, with this chick sitting at the news desk talking about the Jersey Devil, and they had a couple different. They showed that picture that guy took, or a picture some guy took, which was like, I don't know. But then they showed this thing flying, and it looked like a black cow.
Wait a minute. Is that the one of the man? I can't remember. I think his name was Dave or David Black. And I think in that particular account, he was driving, and he said he saw something messing around in the trees, and when he said it took off in the trees, it sprouted wings and flew off.
Yeah, I believe that was some sort of contraption that maybe someone built or someone photoshopped. But yeah, that was popular, I believe, probably about a year or two ago. That was circulating around the news also.
Yeah. When you watch that thing fly, that thing, it doesn't look right.
No, it doesn't. No.
It just doesn't look right. Of course, like I it's a tough call. You'd figure again, it's the Jersey Devil is really an intriguing mystery. I mean,
yeah,
it's like the Bigfoot or like the Dogman or like the Mothman. Like now with Chicago and the Mothman, Owlman thing. It's almost too good. I mean, when you hear it or you see a picture, it's like, yeah, right. But then again, people keep seeing it, and it's consistent. And I know these things out there are for real. I had a Bigfoot sighting, and I guess before that happened, I believed it was possible, but I wasn't sure. Now I'm sure, and if something like that could be real, then why couldn't there be something else? And could they be hiding in the same way? The whole idea of paracryptozoology is that some of these cryptids may have powers or abilities that humans don't possess, and we know there's animals out there with powers or abilities that humans don't possess. Snakes have thermal pits; they can see in thermal vision. Or how about like hammerhead sharks, or any shark for that matter? They can detect a car battery buried under the sand because they're magnetic receptors or so. There's all sorts of examples.
Right.
Nature can always surprise us.
Right.
Right. And it's like someone just said in chat room, but how do we know the truth? What is hiding in the woods? What is it we're seeing? I think that says a lot. And you look at cryptids like that, like Mothman or Dogman, especially Mothman, you always see just one of them. You never see more than one of them. And it's like after the sightings, where do they go? It's just like as if they just up and vanish. They disappear. Could it be that these creatures are interdimensional?
At this point, with the trap cams, with the drones, with the satellites, with the numbers out there looking for these cryptids, every year that goes by, I kind of fall more and more towards the para, opposed to the zoological. Just because, at some point. But one thing we didn't get a chance to discuss. I just want to, even if you can mention it, is your other book. Can you tell us where is that? The name of your other book, because you have two books. Correct?
The first series is the Jersey Devil books, and we do have another one coming out in October of this year.
Awesome.
And the Curse series deals with abandoned locations and other paranormal experiences similar to the Jersey Devil, but not the Jersey Devil itself. And we also have a horror series called La Bella Morte, which is a collection of fiction horror writing.
Okay.
For people out there that are curious, where can they find your books?
Basically, if you just do an internet search and go to Amazon, they are on Amazon.
And is there any websites that you'd like to share, or any other? Do you have anything coming up? Anything at all that you'd like to pass along or share, or anything?
The main thing is, we just want to pass on the information. If you have any sort of information, hard evidence on the Jersey Devil, feel free to send it our way. We are putting out the third book in the Jersey Devil series this October, so there is a little bit of time to get that information into the book, if it is hard evidence.
Okay. That sounds great. Christoph, thank you so much for...
and thank you very much for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Next week, everyone, we will... be talking about the Chicago Owlman, Chris, we got a couple minutes here. Any thoughts on that, real quick, before we leave?
The Mothman?
Yeah, the Chicago phenomenon going on right now.
Yeah, I do need to, educate myself on that. I'm not all that familiar with it. I've been more focused on the Jersey Devil, so I do have to educate myself on it.
Yeah, it seems interesting. They got so many names for it. They're not sure if it's Owlman, Mothman, Man-Bat, Bat-Squatch.
There's so many
Gargoyle.
variables out there, it's hard to figure out what's what.
Right. But with all the names, I think we're just going to call it the Owlman.
Owlman.
Yeah, why not? But yeah, so that's next week. We'll have Lon Strickler on, and he has been focusing on them, so he can give us an update. I've looked into it somewhat, but I know Lon has really looked into it, every report and talking to witnesses and whatnot. So that will be a good show. To the believer, the evidence is overwhelming.
And to the skeptic, there will never be enough.
Thank you, everyone. God bless you. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next week.
Yes. Good night, everyone.